What's happening, people? We're back for the next piece in the Classical Days series, and I've chosen to go through the symphonic suite from Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, which is Sheherazade. Now, I did react to the Aladdin suite from Danish composer Carl Nielsen, and that was derived from or inspired by 1001 Nights, sometimes referred to as the Arabian Nights, which is a collection of folk stories from the Near and Middle East. And Sheherazade is not only taken from the same collection of stories, but it refers to the narrative framing character Sheherazade, who is telling these stories as a way to delay or even avoid her execution, which is sort of the narrative framing device of the work at large. So this work, I think, was composed in the 1870s. I was looking at the booklet here because I had to brush up on some of this. And this is the German section, so hold on, I cannot read in German. Okay, so the Symphonic Suite Sheherazade was composed by Rimsky-Korsakov in the winter of 1887-1888, taking as his literary inspiration excerpts from the Tales of Arabian Nights. And it's fascinating series of stories told by the beautiful Sheherazade in an effort to postpone her execution at the orders of her royal master. So, it says here, the composer himself described the suite as a kaleidoscope of fairy tale images and designs of Oriental character. So there you go, that is the background of the piece, or at least a quick sketch of it. And the first tune we're going to hear is, or the opening movement of the symphonic suite, is the sea and Sinbad's ship. So Sinbad, a Persian character who was indeed seafaring and who was sort of like Jason and the Argonauts. He went and saw many crazy mythological things and went on many adventures over the course of his journeys. So that's sort of the conceptual framing for this first movement in the larger suite. So here we go. This is Rimsky-Korsakov, the opening movement of Sheherazade, which is the sea and Sinbad's ship, and is performed by the Philharmonia Orchestra of London and conducted by Enrique Batiz. to start, right? Incredible, majestic, very adventurous. I do think those big brass strokes really give you a sense of the sea in a couple different ways, as a challenge, as the mysterious and unknown, but also in terms of possibility and the drive or wish to explore. I feel all of that in those big moments. And then that incredible solo violin line that we heard very early on, that motif will come back multiple times throughout the full symphonic suite. So keep your ear on that particular violin line, which is so elegant and so breathtaking. And then, of course, there's that other solo violin flourish, which comes back a couple times over the course of this particular movement or part of the larger suite. And that is a very stunning violin moment as well. So yes, I enjoy the way, again, we hear different aspects. In fact, there's a section where the violins, plural, are flourishing, and then during, I think it's like 4 times around of this melody, it's like on the 3rd time, the flute follows it. So as it goes around a couple times overall, the flute is almost, chiming in or replying to what the violins are doing. I enjoyed that bit of arrangement or, larger composition. So yes, it certainly gives me a sense of the sea in the Middle Ages and going to explore and heading off into the unknown horizon. And again, I don't know the Sinbad story in great detail, but my understanding is, as I said, he sort of goes on these different adventures, encounters mythological beasts, finds rare, unexplored lands, treasures, and has perils and triumphs alike. So yeah, I think that is part of why it would be a compelling story for a storyteller to convey if they were trying to distract their royal audience from the execution at hand. So yeah, I think it's a clever way to open this symphonic suite, and a great, not libretto, but a great literary source to build a symphonic piece around, which again, Carl Nielsen's like, yes, I agree. So as I said, there are a couple of different motifs that come back around, but that main violin one, that will definitely be something we'll hear again. And indeed, when I come back for the next one, it'll be the Calendar Prince, which is spelled Kalender. So in the moment, I don't know the 1001 Nights well enough to have a sense of what that is, but ultimately, I'm sure this is something that we can explore together. And also, once again, shout out to the Philharmonia Orchestra of London and Enrique Batiz for the performance and conducting, respectively. And Luca and I will see you for the next one. Peace.